There's something that I just want you all to know, because you guys are the future here, okay? And from me to you, I just want you to know that I applaud you, your hard work, because I know what it takes, the commitment. And, you know, I just applaud you and I respect you and I love artists. I know they are the most important people in the world, you know. And there's one of my mentors and great teachers said something, is L. Ron Hubbard. He said something, and when it hit me, I really found it to be true, that a culture is as great as its dreams, and its dreams are dreamed by artists. So from me to you, I wish you Godspeed and keep dreaming. And I'm very excited for you, and thank you for this time and being so patient.
This is Hollywood.
Friends, what's going down, my friends? Welcome to another live stream. That opening clip, you heard Tom Cruise babbling about to an audience of members of the Actor Studio, which has a very dear place in my heart, babbling about the wins and gains of L. Ron Hubbard, using a quote there saying something about civilization is only as great as its dreams, and its dreams are dreams by artists, or some shit. Thank God I can't even fucking remember this crap. Anyways, what we're going to be talking about today, this is the knowledge report part of the channel. Sorry, my friends, let me get my shit together. I'm so fucking tired. I've been up for like a day and a half. I won't bother you with what's been going on, but this one's probably gonna suck because I'm just so tired and I don't have the enthusiasm. But perhaps you guys can bring me up and get me through this fucking thing. But this is near and dear to my heart. This is something I've wanted to talk about for a while. The Actor Studio played a pivotal role in actually waking me up from Scientology, and I'm sure we'll get into that as we go through these clips. But I found John Travolta and Tom Cruise talking to students at the Actor Studio, planting seeds to an unknowing audience about some principles of Scientology, all the way up to and including government involvement. When we get to John Travolta, we'll get into that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit about the Actor Studio. We're going to hang out. Like I said, I'm tired, so let's just watch some fucking videos that I compiled. But there's a sequence. We're going to watch a video on the Actor Studio so you can see what the hell that's all about. And then I compiled these clips of Tom Cruise and John Travolta talking to the audience, and we'll go through them one by one. And if you can see what the concepts that they're talking about are, if you can guess them, put them in the chat. We'll play like a little guessing game, and then we'll go through, I'll break down what they're actually talking about. And then we'll go through the ridiculous art series very briefly by L. Ron Hubbard about how he pontificates about how to be a great artist because he pontificated and had tech about everything from how to clean windows to how to wipe your ass. So we'll blaze through that. And then I'm going to start your questions as we go. And we'll answer some questions at the end and or comments. And then also, if you want to participate, because this is a participatory stream, as always, I'll throw your comments up if they appertain to what we're talking about. And let's get into it. So where to start? First, a brief introduction of what you, oops, that's the wrong one. A brief introduction of what you saw at the beginning. That's inside the actor studio. And how many of you guys know what that is? That's Mr. James Lipton, one of the most boring, serious, guys who's like, now tell me about the moment when you, he takes acting a little bit too seriously, probably not least because he's a failed actor himself, I believe. But I'm sure you guys know the show where he interviews famous actors, and you don't have to be a member of the actor studio in order to be on that show. In fact, most of them aren't. Tom Cruise and John Travolta aren't, but it's famous for being very difficult to get in, teaching the method acting. It was one of the first kind of places to attract all these stars, everyone from James Dean to Marilyn Monroe to Martin Landau, who was my acting teacher, who died in 2017, RIP. Again, I'll be saying more about this as we go because it's kind of an emotional topic. Anyways, so this is kind of what the actor studio, what you just saw is inside the actor studio. That's the one that they tape. So let's read a little bit of it here. So it's an American talk show that airs on Ovation, and it just tells when it premiered, and then there's James Lipton, the guy I was just telling you about. And then it just talks about some of the history, but the people in the audience are studio members, or they're going to become studio members. And the actor studio is a membership organization for professional actors, theater directors, and playwrights located on West 44th Street and Hell's Kitchen, New York City. There's also one here in Los Angeles, which is the one that I went to. And the studio is best known for its work refining and teaching method acting. And that's kind of a no-no in Scientology, as you'll see when Tom Cruise is asked kind of what he uses to act in the method acting school of the actor studio in front of all these people. And it was founded by Elia Kazan, Cheryl Crawford, Robert Lewis, and later directed by Lee Strasberg. And better yet, let's just watch an actual video on the actor studio.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
If the mark of a great school is the success of its graduates, then the Actors Studio is among the very best. Ben Mankiewicz speaks with Oscar winners Al Pacino and Ellen Burstyn about its truly stellar history.
How am I going to play this guy?
On this small stage in Los Angeles, maybe 20 feet from a seat bearing his name, Al Pacino tells me about one of his earliest movies. There's some chance you've seen it.
I saw this film recently, is why I can remember it.
I like it. You feel like you got to explain why you know The Godfather so well.
Get rid of these.
For 25 years, I didn't look at it.
Put your hand in your pocket like you have a gun.
This scene, with Pacino as Michael Corleone,
You'll be okay.
speaks volumes about Michael's mindset just hours after his father's been shot. He's cool, collected, yet capable of ruthlessness. All of it conveyed without saying a word.
The secret is the giveaways. When the guy is shaking and he just lights the cigarette, and he is aware enough to discover that he's not shaking.
Michael's self-discovery is happening with the audience. Discovery.
He's surprised, yes.
Right.
Getting to that point is a process for Pacino. Acting,
I got to hold on to my angst.
his craft,
I preserve it
his passion,
because I need it.
is a constant education.
On the edge, where I got to be.
How to get to Carnegie Hall, practice. You can't just walk in. And so the same thing with the actor. There's one thing to have the desire, which is the most important thing, the appetite to do it.
Pacino and generations of actors, directors, and writers began whetting that appetite here.
By the way, Al Pacino was one of the artistic directors at the one in Los Angeles as well. I never got to see him, but apparently he came in once in a while. But every frickin' Friday for 2 hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., Martin Landau was always there. And he was never in a hurry. He never seemed to have to go to a movie set, even though he worked up until his untimely death. And he always had time to talk. He was a very, very incredible man. But Al, shame on you, man. He never freaking showed up, even though he was the artistic director.
Inside this unassuming brick building, a former church on the west side of Manhattan, the Actors Studio.
This was our place to go to have that feeling of belonging to something, that you were a part of something, that what you had chose to do with your life, which is so random and is so full of rejection, to have a place you could be accepted in and go to, you were somehow lifted by it.
Consider the list of Actors Studio alumni. There's Paul Newman and James Dean, Sidney Poitier and Jane Fonda, Marilyn Monroe and James Baldwin, Jack Nicholson and Sally Field. That's merely scratching the surface.
The theater's up there.
Al Pacino is the co-president of the Actors Studio with another Oscar winner, Ellen Burstyn.
So what does this place mean to you?
Oh, God. It transformed me as an actress, but also as a person. That's Elia Kazan.
Founded in 1947 by Elia Kazan, Cheryl Crawford, and Bobby Lewis, and for decades led by artistic director Lee Strasberg, the studio gives actors the freedom to take chances, to experiment, and allow creativity to blossom. At the heart of it all is an approach as famous as it is mysterious: the method.
Is it fair to say that the method that actors learned here changed the business?
Revolutionized the business. It is a method of training the senses to respond to imaginary stimuli.
By the way, I just wanted to say something real quick. You know, there's one theory that's true, that L. Ron Hubbard was a con artist and he stole everything from everybody. But also, as we've talked about, and we showed you in that flow chart, at the time, Freud was popular, Carl Jung, and Stanislavski. It was all about accessing the subconscious. That's where the power lies, right? That's what they were kind of preaching. So Hubbard also stole, I believe, from Stanislavski with the mirroring exercises, which is where we get the CCHs. How do I talk without the gibberish? We talked about how Manson used the communication, control, and havingness drills, otherwise known as CCHs. And this is where you mirror or mimic another person. And that was also used in theater games and stuff that we did at the studio and shit. So I think it's just interesting that in this time, again, the studio started in 1947, which was an incredible year, by the way. That's when we had Roswell and all sorts of crazy shit that was kind of happening in that particular year. And again, it was all about the subconscious. This is where we get the hippy dippy cults. And like I said, the Alan Watts and the Timothy Learys, where everybody, at least in California, it seemed like, was being kind of influenced by this. And Stanislavski's, i.e. the Actors Studio teachings, were all about the method and about taking something on and really living experiences and getting in there into the subconscious.
Ellen Burstyn says to you how she perceives the method. I'm sure Harvey Keitel would tell you something different. Paul Newman would tell you something. Everybody has their own approach to things, and they all can do it here.
The method transformed acting in America. The New York theater crowd saw it first on Broadway in 1947. A Streetcar Named Desire announced the electrifying arrival of one man, Marlon Brando.
Hey, Stella!
Stella! You know, remember that scene?
Yeah,
well, if
yeah.
you isolate it, you will not see an actor. You will see a tornado.
His performance changed everything.
It did. I would say he was the closest that I've ever seen.
People say that he was trying to act like a monkey, and even though he doesn't have his knuckles, like an ape, his character was so abusive and so reckless. He would do an animal exercise, which is what they call it at the studio and other acting schools. And you can see him look like he kind of doing an ape right here, minus the knuckles.
To an acting genius.
Just remember what Huey Long said, that every man's a king, and I'm the king around here. And don't you forget it.
The method is many things to many people. It's Daniel Day-Lewis staying in character when the cameras aren't rolling, Robert De Niro becoming a real cabbie to prepare for Taxi Driver, and Nicole Kidman remaining in character for 5 months on the Hulu show 9 Perfect Strangers.
What the method is really about is truthful acting.
Isaac Butler is the author of The Method, how the 20th century learned to act.
In that post-war moment, you have this younger, rebellious generation that needs a way of speaking the truth. And the method was very, very attractive to that younger generation that was feeling oppressed by the kind of conformity of the late 40s, early 50s moment.
Why won't
Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit to what the actual audition processes are like.
If you
And of course, there's an ad.
You
Stand
can now
by.
join a clinical research study and earn up to $7,000.
So it can often take forever to actually get into the studio. Jack Nicholson supposedly tried 10 times before they accepted him. And they really want to make sure that, I don't know, I'll talk about it more because I was going to say they want to make sure that you're the best, but I wasn't super impressed by the actors there. I mean, we had a lot better actors, in my opinion, in Bobby Lyons' class, but I'll talk about the audition process, what that was like after they describe it here.
I'll tell you, walking up these steps when you're going to audition is one of the most terrifying experiences you can have.
To become a member of the Actors Studio, applicants must endure multiple auditions. Once they're in, they're members for life. They pay no dues. But those auditions are grueling. Just ask Justin Marcel McManus.
It took me 2 years, and just as soon as I got on the stage, I got it. I was like, yeah, this is what I need. To have a safe space, to be around people who understand the work, all the legends who are here. You can feel it when you go up to the stage.
All right, so I guess that's it on that. The reason the Actor Studio had such a profound effect on my life, because as we talked about earlier, there's 3 acting schools that I know of. Maybe there's more, but there's 3 acting schools that were Scientology front groups. And since Scientology was my life, I obviously went to Scientology-esque schools. And that was Bobby Lyons, who was this amazing teacher that I had, where some of the Masterson kids, Laura Prepon, and a bunch of stars were kind of like B and C level actors were in that class. Then there was the Beverly Hills Playhouse run by Milton Casalas, who has since passed away, and that's been taken over by an apostate, so it's no longer a front school. And then there's the Acting Center, where all the young kind of hip Scientology actors and such go, not to be confused with the Actor Studio. And what happened is Bobby Lyons was a lifetime member of the Actor Studio. And he told me and my friend Nick Lashaway, who is also a Scientologist and in the class, to go audition there because he felt that we'd be able to get in. He just did it out of the goodness of his heart, you know? I mean, if we did actually get in, we're obviously not going to be going to his class probably anymore, but he loved that school. It's where he learned everything. And he just, like I said, did it out of the goodness of his heart. So me and Nick loved Bobby's class. It didn't matter if we really got in or not, but, and we didn't know much about it. So we actually got in the very first audition. And the way that went down is, we did, what the fuck did we do a scene from? I knew I was going to forget. It was made into a movie, but it was a really intense 2-person scene. And when we finished, first of all, it's dark as shit. And then the lights turn on. And then all of a sudden I heard this voice, talking to me. And he's like, why do you guys want to become actors? Let's start with you, Doug. And you could see it was Martin Landau and then some other shady faces in the background. There was only like 4 or 5 people there. And he ended up talking to us for about 30 minutes, man. And I found out afterwards that normally you just go in there, you do the scene, and then you exit. But since he was considering us without having to go through finals and all this other bullshit, he wanted to kind of test us out that day. And then we got a call like a week later saying that we got in. Also, me and Nick said if we both don't get in, neither of us are going, because we like Bobby's class and we didn't want to like stop hanging out at different acting classes. But miraculously, we both got in, and Martin told me, he says, now, kid, don't you ever, take this for granted. Nobody gets in this quick and all this. I feel like it was meant to be, goddammit, because the reason I bring this up is because it was at the Actor Studio where I got away finally from the Scientologists. I've said a million times that once you're programmed, the way that they keep you in is it has to be constant and 24/7. This is why they send you mail in the mail all the time. They call you up. They always try to get you to go on course. They always want you to keep connected, because I swear, if you pull away from the mind control for any length of time, your mind can start to figure shit out and start to revert, or like actually start to critically think and reboot again. So it was getting away from all the Scientologists getting into Martin Landau's class where I was around normal people, which was terrifying, to be honest with you, because I didn't have the safety of the Scientologist. It was that environment that started me to subconsciously doubt and question Scientology, even though I didn't know anything was wrong with it yet. And then also, as you guys know that are following the channel, he wasn't a friend. He was trying to get back at me and make me wrong, as they would say, for being in the cult. But it doesn't matter because I love him for doing this. He was a frenemy that dropped off a stack of books on my doorstep. And the very one at the top was Combating Cult Mind Control by Steve Hassan. I read it in a day, and I was out of Scientology literally within a few hours. And I don't think that would have happened if I didn't get away from, well, of course it wouldn't have happened because I would have never met this guy, Jamie, who did that. And also it was prepping me being away from Scientologists 24/7 and into Martin Landau's class where I could meet more normal people. So I just wanted to share that. And now we're going to get into the actual clips of Tom Cruise and John Travolta preaching to an unwitting audience Scientology principles. And like I said, we'll watch some of this. We'll watch some trailers and shit, and I'll just break down kind of what's going on here. So let's see if I can do this properly. Excuse me, I have to burp. Okay, so let me try this. So this first clip is from Phenomena, and we'll just play it and take it from there.
What drew you to a very interesting movie called Phenomenon?
Let me just point out that that's James Lipton. How many of you guys know who this is? And how many of you seen Will Ferrell make fun of this guy? Because he's so damn serious. He is hilarious. But he's the one that asked all these serious questions to the actor that is in front of the audience at the actor studio.
Yes.
Damn it, I got to take it back.
What drew you to a very interesting movie called Phenomenon?
Yes. Well, Phenomenon is one of my favorites.
And what appealed to you about it?
By the way, the sound is only shitty on this particular clip and a couple more. It's not bad, so don't be turned off too much by the sound. I actually fixed the sound when I edited these together, so this is better than it actually sounds on YouTube. But hopefully you can still hear it, and it's not bad for the rest of the clips.
Agent sent me the script called Phenomenon, and I read it in a hotel room in Florida. I cried so hard, I sobbed so hard that I threw the script against the wall, and I sat there and sobbed for about 20 minutes, uncontrollably, because it was about greatness. It was about a person that was willing to love people.
By the way, if you guys get any of the Scientology concepts that he's dropping, he just dropped one of them. Go ahead and take a crack at it in the chat. Test your Scientology's skill. I'll rewind it just so you can hear it a little bit.
Controllably, because it was about greatness. It was about a person that was willing to love people in spite of reasons.
Sorry, I have to take it back a little bit because I wanted to point something out when he talks about actually getting the script of Phenomena.
I cried so hard, I sobbed so controllably.
Sorry, man, I just have to start
over. What drew you to a
I...
very interesting movie called Phenomenon?
Yes. Well, Phenomenon is one of my favorites.
And what appealed to you about it?
My agent sent me the script called Phenomenon, and I read it in a hotel room in Florida.
Okay, when he says he read it in a hotel room in Florida, he's talking about the Flag land base, and I swear I can imagine him. I can just see it now, because this is what I did as a Scientologist, always postulating, always thinking about how to get acting jobs, or if I got the right script, it's because I pulled it in. So my guess is he was doing some form of auditing at Flag, maybe even OT7, where he gets this script, Phenomena, which is a total Scientology movie. It's about what an OT, or an operating thetan, or one that achieved all the way to the top of the bridge, would actually look like in the real world. When we run the trailer of Phenomena, you'll see there's many movies that these Scientologists have done, like Tom Cruise and John Travolta, and even Will Smith. There's the obvious one, Battlefield Earth, where he wants to, Travolta does Hubbard's book. And then the Last Samurai, I believe The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, that was based on that was based on his idea of how to translate Scientology to that film. And then Phenomena was another one that you could say was definitely Scientology inspired. And when he says he got this script at the Fort Harrison Hotel and he started crying, I imagine he just like, was on his OT levels and he's like, this is it. I can communicate Scientology to the world now.
I cried so hard, I sobbed so hard that I threw the script against the wall and I sat there and sobbed for about 20 minutes, uncontrollably, because it was about greatness. It was about a person that was willing to love people in spite of reasons to hate them. It was about a person that was willing to take responsibility for all, even though he didn't need to. And those qualities were so magnificent to me, and it was so beautifully written that I said, I have to do it. I said, I don't care what they pay me. I said, I don't care what it is. I have to do this part. And Fred said, calm down. We'll get it done. And I was chomping at the bit to play that because it was so emotionally naked, and so few parts are so free to be emotionally naked.
I think, well, before we run the trailer, I want to show you the theme of what is greatness, which he's talking about. I think actually John was just fantasizing about having his male co-stars naked. Yeah, it's about being at cause, and you notice he's talking about what is greatness. Again, the movie Phenomena is about being an OT, and he's describing what is greatness, which if you're a Scientologist, you would know this reference, this policy, this bulletin inside and out. And I hate to make you have to watch this because it's a Scientology film, but if you're stoned or if you can get really loaded, it's actually really, really good. So check this out. This is what is greatness. I had this embedded in my head most of my life. This is word for word the Hubbard policy in script / quote unquote movie form.
The hardest task one can have is to continue to love his fellows despite all reasons he should not. And the true sign of sanity and greatness is to so continue. For the one who can achieve this, there is abundant hope. For those who cannot, there is only sorrow, hatred, and despair. And these are not the things of which greatness, or sanity, or happiness are made. A primary trap is to succumb to invitations to hate. True greatness merely refuses to change in the face of bad actions against one. And a truly great person loves his fellows because he understands them. After all, they are all in the same trap. Some are oblivious of it. Some have gone mad because of it. Some act like those who betrayed them. But all are in the same trap. The generals, the street sweepers, the insane. They act the way they do because they are all subject to the same cruel pressures of this universe. Some of us are subject to those pressures and still go on doing our jobs. Others have long since succumbed and rave and torture and strut like the demented souls they are.
Don't worry, we're almost done.
We can at least understand the one fact that greatness does not stem from savage wars or being known. It stems from being true to one's own decency. From going on helping others, whatever they do or think or say, and despite all savage acts against one. To persevere without changing one's basic attitude toward man. To that degree, true greatness depends on total wisdom. Why should one change and begin to hate just because others have lost themselves and their own destinies are too cruel for them to face? The real lesson is to learn to love. He who would walk scatheless through his days must learn this: never use what is done to one as a basis for hatred. Never desire revenge. It requires real strength to love man, and to love him despite all invitations to do otherwise, all provocations and all reasons why one should not.
I love these shots. They're just random people like in the rain and looking at the camera. There's no actual theme, and the pictures are so literal. There's like really no art at all behind these ridiculous things.
Happiness and strength endure only in the absence of hate. To hate alone is the road to disaster. To love is the road to strength. To love in spite of all is
random leaves and shit. Okay, we're almost done.
The secret of greatness, and may very well be the greatest secret in this universe.
I thought the greatest secret in this universe was revealed on OT3 after you paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in 10 years of your life, when you're told that literally OT3 is the secret of the universe. Anyways, guys, I mean, I know that looks ridiculous, and it's like, again, how can anybody fall for this? But I didn't know that the person who wrote that was a madman and was the opposite of everything that he said. But if you strip away the corn, if you strip away the cheesiness of that film, and you don't know Hubbard's background like I didn't growing up as a young chap, listening to these kind of words, there's some wisdom in there, you know? Yeah, it's good to rise above hate and not succumb to reasons to hate, and to grow your character and to learn wisdom that way. But then, of course, when you realize he just kind of stole all this shit and he, like I said, was the opposite, it becomes a bit of a different story. I wanted to take up some quick comments that you guys were making along the way. Take a little intermission here. Oh, thanks, Chow. That was in reference to the actor studio. No, they didn't forget to mention me. My acting career got just a little sidetracked once I woke up out of Scientology and went on a different adventure, shall we say. Yeah, NLP. What's up, Martha? NLP uses a mirroring imaging stuff. Imaging, yes, exactly. Mirroring and mimicking people, of course. It's, you know what's really weird about that, my friends, is like, so as a kid, I did these mirroring drills on something called the TRs and objectives course with my auditor. And just doing these things without knowing what I'm doing, simply copying and trying to keep up with my auditor, just practicing or just doing something like that already made me bond in a subconscious way to kind of do what my auditor says, to try to be like him, to mimic him, just by doing these little theater games hour after hour, week after week. It's amazing how it actually works to subtly take you over when you just seem like you're playing little theater games with your freaking auditor. Brad, what's up, dude? Isn't method acting pretty much Scientology? Well, when you hear Tom Cruise clip, he does not do method acting. He uses the imagination, and method acting is supposedly using your real experiences, you know, like staying in character all freaking day or whatever, and having people address you as, you know, King Henry VIII or whatever on set all day and shit. I didn't personally do that, but it didn't have anything to do with it not being Scientology. But no, I would say that Scientology, and you'll, like I said, you'll hear Tom Cruise speak. Method acting would be antipathetic because you don't want to re-stimulate the incidences in your reactive mind in order to be able to be an actor. And like I said, we'll hear about that shortly. Brad again. Like, isn't that what they push through brainwashing? I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, everything in Scientology is about pushing through. They say the famous line is the way out is the way through. So yeah, you are traumatizing yourself. And I guess in a way you are method acting because you're abreacting or re-experiencing things in your mind in Scientology auditing. But since everything's contradictory too, the flip side of that is they say as an actor, you should never re-stimulate or use real experiences. You should just use your imagination, which isn't bad advice. I actually like to do both. Anyways, thanks for that, Brad. Brad, yet again. Yeah, Jack Nicholson was the fucking bomb. Yeah, he was. But also, have you watched Wolf? I have, man. That movie's hilarious. Jack Nicholson just busts out playing a wolf. I guess you have to do one shitty movie you're forgiven because who knows, maybe he needed the money or work was tight, but that movie is terrible. Dom, what's up? An even better movie is Powder. Wasn't that directed by that pedophile who also did Jeepers Creepers? Do you know who I'm talking about? Victor Salva. Is that what Powder is? This kind of gay or LGBTQ or whatever, XTYZ movie or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dom, but I do vaguely remember that because I think that was done by Victor Salva, directed by him. Kelly Cross, invitations to hate. You mean like Scientology does all the time? Yeah, exactly. Hubbard is the exact opposite of what we actually heard there. So let's watch the next clip. Throw the chat back up. Okay, make sure I can do this right. So here's Phenomena and applying what is greatness, which we just suffered through, and Travolta, being at Flag Land Base, getting this script, begging his agent, crying, feeling like he found like the ultimate way to communicate Scientology. You can hear him literally talking about in this movie about OT abilities.
I always said George Malley has something extra to offer this world. I said that the day I circumcised you.
Happy birthday, George.
Happy birthday, buddy.
This is great. This is great. 37. Anybody see that? That light? There was a noise. Did you hear it?
The man's inebriated.
I'm not drunk. Can't sleep. Can you?
What's happening to you, George?
Lately, things have been so clear to me. I just understand quicker. I just can't stop feeding myself. I read three books a day.
Ever since the sighting.
Roger, it was a damn light.
Imagine doing what others only dream of.
Uma coisa para ficar melhor.
George Malley, you learned the Portuguese language in 20 minutes?
Not all of it.
This is so Hubbard, by the way. I mean, just learning different languages, being able... There was this thing called the primary rundown where you're told that you can learn any subject. And this is where there's so many courses in Scientology that are, shall we say, way over the mark in terms of abilities that any normal human would ever be able to have. And so nothing's out of range with Scientologists. And that's why when you watch those ridiculous videos of those testimonials where someone says, I can climb Mount Kilimanjaro now, and I can put a man on the moon and all this shit when they've just done like the basic study course. This is the kind of lunacy that's kind of Scientology inculcates in you. And I'm sure why John was so, inspired by this thing. Continuing on with the film.
Experiencing what others can't understand.
And I'm trying to tell you.
It's way beyond you. You can't understand it.
That I think that there's an earthquake coming.
He's nice, isn't he? Yeah, but he thinks he saw a UFO and he thinks he can predict earthquakes.
And believing what you never thought possible.
Ooh, let me see you do that one more time.
It's a damn mistake is what it is. It was supposed to happen to someone smart, but it didn't happen to me.
They're watching me so closely. I think I scare them. You're not alone. People have been doing astounding things we can't explain.
Can't they just look in his eyes and see who he is? Is it close enough?
You tell me.
It's pretty close.
What do you mean by genius?
He's basically off the chart. I don't think he's testable.
If you think that's something, you should see him move stuff with his brain.
Would you love me the rest of my life?
No, I'm gonna love you for the rest of mine. What is going on, George?
I don't know.
Did any of you guys see that back in the day, and what did you think of it? And what do you think of it today? This next clip, I believe, is Tom Cruise breaking down one of the questions that somebody else had asked earlier about Scientology being method acting, and I think this will help explain it. Actually, let me remove this. Damn it, I gave away the hint. I wanted you guys to try to guess what you're going to hear Tom and John spew to these actor studio members about the tech that's being applied. So let's listen to a question from a actor studio member. And also you'll notice when they go into their Scientology shit, these people have like no idea. You can just see their eyes glaze over, especially when John Travolta talks about the German government and how Bill Clinton and shit helped them out. They have no idea kind of what they're saying, but you can see that they're absolutely in love and starry-eyed and kind of like hypnotized by no matter what Tom or John says, even though they say some pretty outlandish shit that you're about to see. All right, so here we go.
My name's Seth. I'm a third-year actor. I wanted to thank you for your generosity and your energy tonight. As someone who's been in the business for a while and has the career that you have and who's achieved the status that you've achieved in the industry, I'm very curious, where do you look for inspiration? It's the end of a long day and you need to come up with something. Where do you go?
Now, let me see if I get this right, Seth. Because I want to... Are you saying that at the end of the day where it's not happening, or it's not going, where do I go to the well? Yeah. That... When I get to that place, you know, where it's just not happening, I go for a walk, first of all, and I look around. And then I just take it from the point of view of the character. I say, it ain't happening, you know. So from that, I go, well, that's interesting. And then I kind of explore that. That's not happening. You know, I feel whatever. You know, there's moments where you just go, man, it's numb. I don't go, this sucks. I'm blowing it, you know. I'm gonna blow it. I'm gonna cry. You know, the scene's not gonna work. I actually do the opposite. I try to get extroverted.
Okay, before we get into the extroverted part, did you guys catch the fact that he talked about taking a walk? So, according to, I mean, that sounds innocent enough, right? Just taking a walk. But let's apply the Scientology tech and see what he's actually talking about there. There's a very specific thing about taking a walk. So I guess if you're on set and you know the director's like, can we hurry up and shoot? We have 5 minutes. And Tom's just like, excuse me, I need to go take a walk. But it's not just taking a walk. It's spotting things and all sorts of ridiculous stuff. So get a load of this shit. You guys can see that, okay? And if you can't, I'll just read it to you. I like having the chat up here and seeing what's going on with you guys. Really quick, too, on the pinned comment or on some of the comments. JCH, are the Hollywood conspiracies real? Like where you have to do, quote, favors to get good acting roles? Well, the casting couch is real. And pedophilia, this is a good question. Pedophilia is rampant in Hollywood, and it depends on how high you want to go. I would say that it's like a cult, the higher that you go, or a secret society. So, you know, there is talk about like sacrifices and the Illuminati and everything. I would say it doesn't quite work like that. Like it's not so exact, and I don't think anybody's in on a big conspiracy. But they look specifically like we've talked about before, and why a lot of actors come from cults is they like trauma-based mind control. A lot. That's why Britney Spears, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, River Phoenix, and a whole bunch of young stars are basically used in a certain way by Hollywood. And then when they get older, they have a tendency, you know, stage mothers can push them out there and they can lose all their money, or they can often be sexually assaulted. I'll give you an example. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the movie My Truth, The Truth of Two Coreys or something like that. And Corey Feldman, I think he's pretty reliable. Now, mind you, he's been under trauma-based mind control, so he's kind of fucked up. But one of the allegations that he made, well, first of all, he said pedophilia is the big secret in Hollywood. I would personally totally agree with him, and it goes way beyond Harvey Weinstein. So yeah, in a certain way, you do have to kind of have what it takes, specifically to be traumatized or to be willing to be abused. I don't know how else to say it. Anyways, he accused Charlie Sheen of sexually assaulting Corey Haim, who since died of a drug overdose, not dissimilar to River Phoenix and a lot of stars who kind of lose their mind when they wake up in their 20s or 30s and the compartments of their mind start to crack. And that's why Britney Spears, you know, shaved her head and all this shit. This happens to star after star after star. Sorry to ramble, but the point being is that, yeah, it depends on what conspiracies you're talking about. And I don't know everything, like I said, but I was in Hollywood. I was in a cult, and that's why I won't go back to it, because it's a propaganda machine. And I just don't feel good about, I miss acting, man. It really actually stung. But particularly during the pandemic, I had a lot of chance to reassess what I want to do. And I can't, with a good heart, actually go back and contribute to, even though I love acting, being a part of that and hypnotizing. And it's basically a propaganda machine, is how I see Hollywood. So it kind of sucks to have found that out the hard way. I hope that kind of answered your question, but there's a lot more to say on that. And we'll do some videos on the stars that have been sexually assaulted and been through trauma-based mind control and stuff like that in future videos for sure. So thanks for that. Don, thanks. I didn't know that. So I do kind of remember this now. Powder is about a young kid who was found in the basement after his parents die, and he had really tremendous abilities. And also, was that speaking of conspiracies, that was directed by Victor Salva, right? Who is a pedophile, convicted pedophile, who's allowed to continue to work in Hollywood. And there's a whole story behind him as being atypical of kind of Hollywood. Gur Roar, what's up? This is devastatingly bad. Holy shit. With Enya in the background. Oh my God, you're talking about the Scientology video. Again, apologies, friends, to make you suffer through that shit. I didn't make it. Okay, found in a basement. I already saw that one. And one more before we roll on here to the next clip. The end phenomenon of Scientology is heartache and disconnection from Fat Cat's Heaven. It's a funny moniker, by the way. Absolutely. It's exactly what it ends up in. God damn it, man. It's just, you just reminded me, Fat, of my my pops, man. I still haven't processed the fact that he exited this world a few months ago as an OT8. And I've never really got to kind of resolve that. So weird, like not knowing your parents and seeing the alternative life that I was supposed to live. And then when Scientology came in our family, it was like living in an alternate reality where I wonder what life would have been like because the worlds were so fucking different. And I can never get back to what the life I was supposed to have lived because it just, like you said, it really does cause heartache and disconnection. It's just so evil. By the way, I heard Aaron say something on his video the other day where a cult, you know, regardless of all the other definitions, if a group makes you disconnect from your family or choose from your family over other things, then it's a cult no matter what other definitions you add to it. I just really liked what he said about that because it's totally true. Okay, so we'll get to the next clip here. Let me just make sure. Okay, so he was talking about, sorry for the ramble, but he was talking about taking a walk. And this is the Scientology version of taking a walk. So get a load of this shit. This is some of the Scientology crap that Tom Cruise just slipped in there where the audience thinks one thing, and this is what he's really talking about. Taking a walk. There's a Scientology procedure known as take a walk. This procedure is very, very easy to perform. Yeah, no shit. You just take a walk. When you feel tired after finishing your work, no matter if the thought of doing so is almost all that you can stand to do without falling through the floor, you should go out and walk around the block until you feel rested. This is what sorry to interrupt again, but I just wanted to say one thing. This is how I grew up, man. The very first thing that happened when I was a kid, when I was 9 years old, was my dad. I was trying to get into the house one day and he just put his hands out and just stared at me and went into robot mode. And that was my introduction to what the fuck is wrong with my dad? Like, what are we doing here? And then as I got into Scientology, I would do ridiculous things like that and taking a walk. So whenever I had a problem, my dad would say, go take a walk, what we're about to read. Or when I would get sick, he would say, or when I would have a pain, he would say, feel my finger. Thank you. Feel my finger. Thank you. It's almost like being molested. These are all the strange, weird things that looking back as a kid, to thrust that on a kid, to do all these weird things like my dad did, such as this take a walk. It's just so evil under the guise of something innocuous. Anyways, continuing on. You should walk around the block and look at things until you see the things you are walking past. It does not matter how many times you walk around the block. Just keep going around the block until you feel better. In doing this, you will find that you will become a bit brighter at first, and then will become very tired. You will become so tired that you, quote, know now that you should go to bed and have a good night's sleep. But this is not the time to stop walking, as you are walking through the exhaustion. Again, Brad the Champion, we were talking earlier about the kind of the method shit, and isn't Scientology method acting and breaking through things? Yeah, in a way, it's exactly like that. The way out is the way through. And somehow when you're tired, the idea is to push through exhaustion when a normal human and a non-traumatizing way of handling this would be to go to sleep. You are, in fact, making the exhaustion go away by walking, but you are not yet done. Who says who? These are the kind of things that I went right past when I was reading them. If I had a critical mind to think with, I'd say, you just made that up. How does making the exhaustion go? How does walking make exhaustion go away? That's ridiculous. You're not handling the exhaustion by physical exercise. The physical exercise has always appeared to be the more important thing to people, but the exercise is unimportant. What is important is the action of unfixing your attention from your work and placing it on the things around you and the world in which you are living. This is called extroversion and introversion, by the way, which Tom Cruise is going to ramble about here shortly in the next clip, and it's part of this taking a walk. Walking around the block and looking at buildings will make you feel lighter and happier. Really? Says who? When you are so tired that you can barely drag yourself around, or you are so tired that you are unable to rest at all, it's actually necessary that you go out and look and see the houses, buildings, hedges, roads, cars, trees, etc. Again, where's the evidence? Where's the scientific evidence that that means and it's going to do anything? Naturally, there's a limit to this procedure. You cannot work all day and walk around the block all night and go to work the next day again and still expect to feel relieved, but you should certainly spend some time extroverting after having introverted all day. Again, I think that these are Scientology's words. I don't even know sometimes if certain words are human words or Scientology. The take a walk procedure can cure just about anything. Really? If you feel upset and angry towards your wife, go out and take a walk around the block until you feel better, and make her walk around the block in the opposite direction until an extroversion from the problem is achieved. It has been discovered that all quarrels in the home, particularly among working people, happen because the people involved had their attention too fixed on the things and spaces of their work. Again, where's the evidence? Someone can fail to control certain things in his working area. He then comes home and tries to find something he can control. This is usually the marriage partner or the children. And when the upset person fails to even control the wife or children, he gets meaner and nastier. Extroversion of attention is as necessary as the work itself. There's nothing really wrong with introverting attention or with work. If you didn't have something to be interested in, you would go to pieces entirely. But if you work, it will be found that an unnatural tiredness can happen. When this is found to be the case, then the answer is not to drop into unconsciousness for a few hours, as in sleep, but to actually extrovert your attention and then get a really relaxing sleep. Many things can happen when following the rules and laws, as if these are laws of like real reality. Many things can happen when following the rules and laws of introversion and extroversion. And although the take a walk procedure is so simple that it's almost laughable, my words exactly, it will take care of an enormous number of difficulties that have to do with work. Remember that when doing the procedure, you will get more tired at first, but you will then feel lighter, happier, and more energetic. Again, the way out is the way through. And Scientology is all about traumatizing you, going through it, splitting the mind, and that's what happens over and over and over again, all under the guise of these stupid, innocuous-seeming fucking drills. Sorry, this is re-stimulating me going back over these, but it's a good thing because I'm getting off the charge. Okay, so back to the foolishness of Tom Cruise and his next Scientology babbling point to the actor studio members.
And step out and think of, okay, well, I'm feeling this right now. And then I'll actually do takes like that. I'll do a scene like that.
So he's talking about extroversion. Let me bring it back a little bit.
Blowing it, you know, I'm going to blow it. I'm going to cry, you know, the scene's not going to work. I actually do the opposite. I try to get extroverted and step out and think of, okay, well, I'm feeling this right now. And then I'll actually do takes like that. I'll do a scene like that. It's the 15th hour. I'm tired. My character's tired. I take it from that point of view of I'm tired. Okay, well, that's interesting. Well, I never thought it's kind of this thing I've never thought of at this point of view, but I'm going to just go with it and see what happens. And then from that comes energy. From that, because you're creating it. You're still creating. You're not giving up. You're not using effort to try to fulfill your preconceived idea of, which we all do. We all come up with, different ways of what we think the scene should be or what we want. And then I don't invalidate those feelings of me being tired. I sit back and I go, okay, I'm tired. The character's tired, I'm tired, or I feel empty. And I'll just play the scene, I'm empty. Whatever the scene is, I'll just take it there for a take. And then from that, I know the worst thing that I can do is kind of vapor lock, lock down on it and go, try to push it somewhere else. I just explore that. And then from that, it brings me to where the scene is supposed to be, or the character, or from that is the scene. And everyone kind of goes, wow, I never thought I was going to go there, because now it's not just me. I'm working with other actors or the director. And that's what I do.
So thank God I was muted, but God damn it, guys, I caught it before I rambled on for like 5 minutes like I've done the last few videos. That's actually not bad advice, what he said, in my opinion. That's what I kind of learned to do. You have the scene locked in your head, you practice the lines, you're going to do it in a certain way, but it always comes out phony that way. So you really do have to do it, in my opinion. I'm not like fucking Marlon Brando, but hey, I did get into the actor studio. Not that that means anything, like I said, because most of the actors in there were narcissists. They were the ones that wanted to be like the most famous or whatever. But I really like Martin Landau, man. He was not a narcissist at all. He was an empathic person and a beautiful man. Anyways, yeah, and he kind of taught me that, you can't lock into a scene like Tom was saying. Although I know when Tom's talking, I don't know, but I'm guessing he's thinking Scientologies, even though he might be saying the right thing. I think it's coming from a Scientology programmed viewpoint where it's just different, even though I would agree with them on that, where you can't vapor lock into a scene. You might be tired. It might be a 16-hour day and you're just fucking tired as shit, but you have to have energy to do it as you planned. Like tonight, I told you guys at the beginning, I was tired as fuck. Not anymore, though. I mean, the energy is coming back. It must be because I took a walk and extroverted. But yeah, you just do it as if you're tired. You do it how you actually feel in the moment. Maybe you don't like your scene partner at that moment and you actually use that. And it's amazing how a scene can turn into something. So let's see. We covered the take a walk bullshit, extroversion and introversion. Now let's listen to Tom Cruise's next rambling.
I'm a second-year actor, and
I feel bad for these students too, man, because these are the up and coming artists. They're not Scientologists. And, it's just a day in their life or whatever. So it's not like going to fuck them up, but it feels deceptive for Tom Cruise to sit there and spew this kind of shit, as well as John Travolta, to preach to them in subtle, kind of manipulative ways. It looks a little gross to me.
no, you have been talking about being in the moment as one of the tenets of, making something work. Now, here at the school, we use our own experiences as well. How much of your personal experiences do you use in your craft?
I create a character, and it's all about the story of that character and creating almost an umbilical cord from myself to that piece of material. There's times, I am who I am. I'm constantly looking at life every day and people. So it is my point of view, but from that character. I'm discovering this character. How does he feel about things? It's my instincts, but I don't personally kind of re-stimulate painful experiences.
Here's that part, Brad the Champion, that we were talking about earlier, about how he doesn't really do method acting, even though he's at the actor studio. And not everybody does method acting there. You can do what you want, but this is why he doesn't want to do it, because it re-stimulates the reactive mind.
I have found personally that it's made it difficult for me to...
And good job, Goldie. Go to the front of the line. We finally had somebody guess the Scientology concept before we revealed it.
Not be there in the moment for myself. That the availability of emotion is greater for me when I've created it. I am the character, and I'm there in the moment, and whatever happens, happens. It's more available every take after take after take, and that's what works for me, the power of my own imagination and my own ability to believe. And I create everything to get myself to the point where I am that character, and I don't invalidate whatever choice or impulse that I have on a scene, whatever it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Goldie, go to the front of the line because you spotted the correct concept in that one. So what he was talking about real briefly is restimulation, and without getting too lost in the psychobabble, I mean, just listen to this crap. I'll actually read this to you. But this is just one of the definitions, and look at how much mind control via redefinition of words and making up words gets into your head, and you have to learn these fucking things. This is why you start going into a different world just via having to learn these new words. See if you can understand this. This is what Tom was talking about. Restimulation, number one, the reactivation of a past counter effort by appearance in the organism's environment of a similarity towards the content of a past randomity area. Y'all got that? Two, means the reactivation of an existing incident. That one's simpler. Number three, where the environment reactivates a facsimile. That's a mental image picture, which then acts back against the body or awareness of awareness unit of the person. By the way, when you're going through this definition, you now have to look up awareness of awareness unit in the Scientology dictionary. You have to look up what the word facsimile means. And this is how you start learning new words innocently, which get inside your head. This is a very simple system of stimulus response. And number four, where the perceptics of the engram are approximated by those of the present time environment. So long story short, Tom Cruise is using his imagination alone so that he doesn't have to re-stimulate his reactive mind in engrams, and it's better to just create it through your imagination, according to Tom. Here's the next concept.
So my question for you on a more serious note is, where do you go within yourself or to external sources when you're lacking in inspiration, when your creative barrel is empty?
Check this one out. Let's see if you guys can guess this one. This is a ridiculous concept. Take it away, John.
I'll give you an example. One time I was in a cab.
And notice he doesn't even answer the question. He just goes right to his Scientology programming. So I'm going to take back her question a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question for you on a more serious note is, where do you go within yourself or to external sources when you're lacking in inspiration, when your creative barrel is empty?
I'll give you an example. One time I was in a cab with a driver that I had initially felt there was zero interest in him. I thought, I am bored. There's nothing I want to ask that driver. And I don't know what I'm doing in this cab, whatever the things were. And then I said, just try to find something interesting about him. So I said, so where are you from? And then he started to spell out something. And I went on the string of questions. By the end of it, he was my best friend. He was like, you're kidding. People are interesting. You just have to ask them the right questions. And it's wonderful. It's like a wonderful exercise. Pick the most boring ass person ever and go for it. And I promise you, you will find something interesting about them. So if you don't have that inspiration, just push through on it. I promise you, you'll find something. Every single person in this room is interesting on some level. It's your job as an actor to discover it. It's not going to happen for you. Do not be a victim in this profession.
Okay, before we get to never being a victim and always being at cause, what he's talking about and rambling about is interested and interesting. So according to John, if you're having trouble on the set and your well has run dry, your creative imagination is not pumping anything out anymore, all you got to do is go talk to the craft service guy, find something interesting about him, and suddenly you'll be able to act. So here's that stupid concept. Let me pull up the screen share here. Are you interested or interesting? And this one really mind fucked me as an actor, because as an actor, you kind of have to be interesting. At least that's what Bobby Lyons, taught me. Otherwise you can't pull attention, and kind of, that's part of your job. But so this bulletin would always mind fuck me. This is from the Phoenix Lectures by L. Ron Hubbard. And what he says is, but we discover here in the matter of interest that we have two facets. One is, quote, interested, and the other is interesting. A thetan is interested, and an object is interesting. Again, if you're new to Scientology, now you got to go to their dictionary and find out what the fuck is a thetan. That's you, a spiritual being. So a thetan is not interesting. He is interested. And when a person becomes terribly interesting, he has lots of problems. Believe me. Again, where's the evidence? This is the chasm that is crossed. This is the chasm which is crossed by all of your celebrities, anybody who's foolish enough to become famous. He crosses over from being interested in life to being interesting. And people who are interesting are really no longer interested in life. That's total bullshit. I met several actors that were not just trying to be interesting. They weren't narcissists. You can be a good actor and you don't have to be a fucking narcissist and try to be interesting. It's very baffling to some young fellow why he can't make some beautiful girl interested in him. Well, she's not interested. She is interesting. And then listen to what this dude wrote. This is an article called The Scientologist. And this is what a Scientologist wrote as to how he applies this. And see, you get many revelations just as I read this, I think, about kind of how Scientology works and creates literally narcissism. Interest is a fascinating subject. If I had known this principle years ago, when I was young and full of beans, I dare say, I would have known a lot more girls because this is a principle one can use. I have also been fortunate to have met many people in the public eye, politicians, celebrities, and stars due to the nature of the work I've done over the years. And looking back, I see that this has been one of my main problems or concerns many have had. Many actors do not immediately aspire to be actors. They sort of fall into it. Many are actually quite shy and do not really like the public scrutinizing their every move. They prefer obscurity. They are interesting to the public by virtue of their celebrity status. They are not really being interesting. It's a total contradiction to what we just read above. Of course, some do like the attention being focused on them, and those are the ones being interesting. That was just a wrong quote. We're not quite down to the part where this dude talks about how to get chicks using this kind of tech. So this is from the Fundamentals of Thought. One, quote, needs an identity to play the game, as covered later, but mainly to, quote, get attention. A being looks at things. To balance the flow of his attention, he feels he must also be looked at. Thus, he becomes attention hungry. Attention and identity form a group of two. Attention makes space. Identity closes space. Can you see how if you really started to focus your attention on these concepts in a chorus room, how this kind of word salad, attention to detail, seemingly making scientific notions out of very simple things like attention and identity and trying to make them into a science, could you see how that would kind of get into your head and you might think that this is something legitimate if you didn't know kind of what you were involved in? So here's this fucking dude talking about how to use this shit to get chicks. And it's totally manipulative. There's nothing natural about this. You can turn this around, of course. If one wants attention, one simply becomes interesting. How, you might ask? This is where ARC, affinity, reality, and communication come to the fore. This is what John Travolta was talking about in that clip, let me just break this down real quick because it's kind of an important concept. They have a thing called the ARC triangle, where up here you have affinity, reality, and communication. And these equal together, if they're firing on all cylinders, Ron says it equals understanding. And the way that it works, it's a classic manipulation tool, is that if you raise the corner on any one of these triangles, for example, communication, the other two parts will also raise. So if you communicate with a gal, automatically the affinity for that person will go up, both flows, for you and the other person. And the reality, the things that you might have in common with that person should also increase. Again, if you find the reality of something between you and said gal, then the affinity will increase and you'll probably start communicating more, right? So nothing wrong with that. This is one of the things that attracted me in Scientology, where I'm like, damn, I've never heard something like that before. That sounds scientific, but it's super fucking manipulative. I don't think about any of this kind of crap nowadays. I just but when you start thinking in a scientific way about how to score chicks and how to raise the affinity and all this shit, it really fucks with your mind. So, for example, the girl who is interesting is continually being given attention by those interested in her. They crowded around her, jostling for attention. Of course, she's being interesting, so is not interested in those around her. After all, they're giving her what she wants, attention. She's practicing Axiom 10, the creation of an effect. There's a whole bunch of axioms and shit where, again, Ron scientifically breaks down such things as cause and effect and other things. So how do you get her attention? Well, you have to be interesting to her. You have to apply axiom 10 in this instant. And it is not doing what everyone else is doing, as they are simply responding to the creation of effect. You can start out that way simply by asking her questions. Questions designed to find out what she is interested in. Again, you're raising the affinity or the reality you have with said chick. Is it art? Is it a certain type of music? Most guys will be telling her how good they are one way or another, and generally presenting themselves as peacocks. You, on the other hand, could show interest in her by asking questions. This is exactly how a narcissist works. They feign interest on what you're into, they love bomb you, and before you know it, you're in their web. This is exactly what Scientology is preaching right here. Once you find something she is interested in, and her indicators will show you what that is, you can then present yourself in that light so that she develops an interest in you. Here's an example. I practiced this the other day. I was at an event where there were many people. One was a lady who was getting attention from some males. One was even singing to her. I could see that she enjoyed the attention. She was being interesting, and the males were decidedly interested in her. I thought I would try this out, so I joined in and initially, quote, became one of the boys. I then started to ask her questions to find out more about her, where she was from, how many languages she spoke. It was several. I continued to ask questions until the flow started to turn around, and she then asked me, hey, what do you do? This was the turning point. I said, I'm an author. And that immediately turned a switch, and she immediately changed from being interesting to being interested. And I got a barrage of questions about what I had written, what I had published, where I was from, and so on. We sat there talking for perhaps an hour, and the other males then saw that it was totally useless hanging around, and they drifted off. She wanted my Facebook page and everything so she could connect up with me on Facebook. That was not because I was interested in her. It was because she had become interested in me. I use this purely as an illustration of the point that these principles that LRH discovered can be used and applied, and when done, they work every fucking time. It was an interesting exercise in the application of this principle, and of course, it could apply in other situations such as sales, in the boardroom, at the office, or even just out in the supermarket, or with friends, and dare I say, in relationships. If one wants the attention of an individual who is interesting, one can turn the switch, so to speak, and get them interested, hopefully in you. And then you can use ARC and you can improve your relationship with that individual. It's really applying the ARC triangle to a given situation. The usual tools apply. The calm cycle, that means the communication formula. Listening and applying the appropriate tone level, that has to do with the stupid tone scale that we broke down, which is another manipulative tool. And of course, being causative in this situation. The philosophy and principles of blah, blah, blah. So can you guys see just how manipulative that fucking shit is? Sorry to make you sit through all that crap, but that's if I had to as a kid day after day, God damn it, you can stand 5 minutes of it. Anyways, let's go on to the next clip. I'm not sure if it's Tom or John. We shall see.
Forget it. You are a cause. You create your characters. You are responsible for your characters. You do the homework. You do the due diligence. You lay the layers on as needed. It's your puppy. And it's fun. It's fun to be responsible for them. It's not like a drudgery, but don't expect it to happen for you. You know, brings me to when I first got
good. You got it. At cause, Chow Yun Fat. Go to the head of the class. Did you catch the responsibility concept? And this is going to lead into the next gibberish that we read off, which is actually going to lead in some other cults like Est and Nexium, so you can see comparisons and such.
To New York. I had heard all these stories about Elie Kazan and, how the director pulled them through this and that and that. What I have found is directors will support you, they'll guide you, but you do the work. Brian De Palma said to me one time during Blowout, I said, Brian, I could give you 3 choices. I give you this choice, and I give you this, and then I give you this. And he said, what are you asking me for? I said, what do you mean? He said, I paid a lot of money for you to decide what to do. He said, you tell me what choice you should make there. I said, cool. You see what I mean? Make your choices, create your character, be responsible for your character. Don't assume that magic will happen unless you create it. You're going to create the character and the magic.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In primary.
Again, she's utterly clueless what the hell he just said, but she's absolutely starry-eyed, and she's like, thank you for that absolutely meaningless advice. So we have the concepts of being responsible, always being cause, never being effect. And that takes us to this rather interesting, well, it's not interesting, it's actually boring, but you can definitely get some insight as to just how manipulative Scientology is and how they kind of, again, have seemingly innocent and useful concepts that are super, super manipulative. So, origin of at cause and at effect. This is from a Reddit thread. Listen to this. I watched The Vow recently, the Nexium documentary, and these terms came up, and I recognized them from Scientology. Googling suggests that they're in heavy use in NLP, and Nexium took a lot from them. I also came across them in a book based on EST I read a while back. EST is now known as Landmark Forum, and it was formed by Werner Earnhardt. Note that name. And he was a ex-Scientologist. Now, given the timings of these things, it could be the concepts were invented in Scientology, made their way into EST and NLP, and then into Nexium. But we know Hubbard to be a bit of a magpie, and I wondered if there's a previous source. Perhaps he brought them into Scientology and renamed to make them seem novel in the same way he did with other concepts. Does anyone have any insights? And I'll leave this, as I always do, I'll leave everything we talk about in the description box so you can go to some of these interesting links. But in terms of what Travolta's talking about here and the concept of why, when I was growing up, I was never to be a victim. I was always to be at cause because, again, everything's possible, and you create your own reality. There's no such thing as being a victim. And this is where it gets kind of tricky, where Scientology takes what could possibly be a good concept and manipulates it. In Scientology, there's a ton of Heidegger's philosophical explorations in the concepts of being, quote, at cause and interpreting how life shows up or occurs for you in each present moment. That's Earnhardt's terminology. That's the dude from EST. Scientology focuses a lot on changing or transforming how you can be in those moments, where Earnhardt and Landmark tended to take it further, adding that you are not only being and experiencing something, but that your own interpretations are going to absolutely recolor your experiences, and usually in a negative or self-serving manner that either causes harm or limits your possibilities. How many of you took the Landmark 3-day to Success seminar, or how many of you had friends or yourself got stuck in Landmark, and did you have your mind completely reframed, like in the way that they're talking about here? Because this is very subtle but dangerous shit here. The goal of these distinctions is to highlight an age-old belief that when we don't focus on victimized terminology of thinking, what's left is owning how we are responsible or at cause for how we experience events in our life and how we interpret that, quote, experiencing, good or bad. Doing this is supposed to empower us to become more self-actualized and even experience transformation. Earhart believes that transformation is impossible if you cannot get this basic Heideggerian concept. Nexium takes all that in a slightly different direction in terms of having, quote, integrity in your interactions becoming an issue when you deviate from Ranieri's own ethical parameters, read impure or hiding motives. Again, are you hiding anything? Has a withhold been missed? Integrity was a core concept of how he created a space for mind control and NLP abuse within his own cult. I'm no defender of any of these large group awareness training turned cult groups, but Ranieri was by far the most egregious, manipulative, and contradictory in his own application of Scientology tech and the philosophical disciplines that informed it. Ranieri was pure evil and even served it up in tiny nuggets of meat wrapped in carbohydrates of pure shit, and in a soft-spoken manner where you really were a few paragraphs away from Stockholm Syndrome when speaking to him. Anyways, that's interesting. So, but yeah, Scientology is probably the first modern grand poobah of organizing and repackaging concepts from Western and certain Eastern philosophers. But a lot of these concepts were there predating LRH by 500 years. Again, he would just basically take concepts that might be sensible, and every single one of these fucking things he used to manipulate you. So you always need to take responsibility. You need to have your integrity, and you need to keep your ethics in. You always need to write down your overts and withholds. These are so you can keep spiritually clean. So you have to be honest in order to go up that bridge. So you can see why, on the one hand, you're trying to be honest, and on the other hand, the guy that's telling you to do all this shit lived the opposite way. But as long as he keeps his history, as long as you can't look it up, or you're thought control to never look at who Hubbard really was or to look at anything bad on the internet, you really do feel like, or at least I did, that I was taking responsibility and being at cause. And what could possibly, be wrong with that, right? So hopefully you guys can see how this trap is sprung. Let's go on to the next clip.
Many colors. You went from Sam and Matt.
This is Primary Colors, and he kind of spews out something that goes way over the audience's head and starts talking about the Germany incident with the Clintons. So let's listen to this.
In Primary Colors, you went from Sam in Mad City, bang, to a fellow who was running for president of the United States and who resembled somebody who was president of the United States. Did you know Bill Clinton when you accepted the role?
No, I met him in the prep for the role. I met him at a function in Philadelphia, and he had an ankle problem. He had a broken ankle or something, and he hobbled over to me and went out of his way to meet me and knew I was doing the movie. He said, I understand your problem in Germany with Scientology, and I'm going to fix it because I know you, I know Tom Cruise, and I had a roommate in college that was Scientology. He said, you're good people. It was like, oh my God, this guy, the president of the United States, going to help me with this issue and help my group with this issue? Well, he did. He took to the chancellor within 2 months, and that problem was handled. It was the most amazing power effort I'd ever seen in my life. And that's how he affected me.
Notice how the audience kind of didn't say anything, and he took like an awkward pause, and he's like, that's how he helped me or whatever. What he's talking about, again, Brad the Champion, we're kind of back to, all the Hollywood conspiracies and everything real or whatever. Well, I would say birds of a feather flock together, right? So you got Clinton and the politicians scratching Hollywood stars' backs. Yeah, that's kind of how it works, man. They all help each other out. And this is because Bill Clinton supposedly had a roommate in college that was a Scientologist. And hey, Bill Clinton liked him. He doesn't want to look like a jackass by having John portray him shitty in this movie. So you tell you what, John, I'll help you out with the problem in Germany with Scientology, and you make me look good. What do you say, kid? So this is what this is about. Check this out. Stand by while I pull this up. Okay, so this happened in, what year would this have been? Let me blow this up a little bit. Got to kick you guys out for one quick second. So USA Scientologist tells Senate of official German persecution. And this was just posted. This is weird. This was posted in August 14th, 2022. AP Archive, the YouTube channel, has 4.91 million subscribers, and this only has 823 views. But anyways, this has to do with, well, I'll just show you the clip, but Isaac Hayes, let's see, who was it? Isaac Hayes, Chick Corea, and John Travolta basically tried to, well, just listen to what these maniacs have to say, and then we'll talk about it. Oh, what do we got?
I've never helped run a presidential campaign.
Okay, well, actually, before we get to the Germany thing, the clip that I have before that is the Bill Clinton movie. So why don't we go ahead and watch Primary Colors, and then you'll see what the Clinton shit's about when we run that clip.
Neither have we.
From Mike Nichols, director of The Birdcage, comes the story of a man
I'm going to do something really outrageous. I'm going to tell the truth.
who said yes to destiny.
I'm going to win this thing.
But couldn't say no
Apple fritter? Honey, please, popcorn.
to anything else.
Governor Jack Stanton seduced me.
No, it is not true.
Oh, sorry.
We've had some tough times in our marriage, but we've worked them out.
Our Jackie's done some pretty stupid things in his life, and he's got enemies.
Well, this has to be handled just right.
Just right.
I'm gonna want a signed confession.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, mister, you're about to become Mrs.
Okay.
Ain't this just great?
Universal Pictures presents John Travolta,
What's he governor of again?
Emma Thompson,
Jack Stanton could also be a great man if he weren't such a thoughtless, disorganized,
slime-sucking
Psychotic.
Get me Howard!
You just threw the phone out the window.
Primary Colors.
Does this guy have a chance in hell?
No.
What?
Screenplay by Elaine May.
Okay, here comes a Germany clip. Didn't you guys see that? Every time there'd be a Scientology or like a John Travolta or Tom Cruise movie coming out in the Kramer household, man, like this movie, I remember the Kramer household was very stoked to go see Primary Colors. It wasn't too bad either. So that's Chick Corea, Isaac Hayes, R.I.P., and John Travolta looking very serious as they walk into court to handle the, quote, Germany problem.
For the North. And so our witnesses today are here to give public testimony.
I am personally familiar with this discrimination campaign. In August and September 1996, politicians of Germany's two leading parties, the Christian Democratic Union and the Social Democratic Party, called for a boycott and a ban on the movie Phenomenon because I'm a Scientologist. A boycott was also called against Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, also for no other reason than he was a member of the Church of Scientology. Many Americans simply do not realize what is going on in Germany. If they did, they would be appalled because every single American I have personally briefed on the situation has been shocked and amazed by the German government's undemocratic behavior.
Isn't that kind of sad though, my friends? I mean, when all is said and done, John Travolta, he is under mind control. And he's so out of touch that he says people don't understand the problem with why Germany, which has experienced, shall we say, a horrific totalitarian past. So when they recognize a sect like Scientology that reminds them of something, they have been awesome in actually taking action, in my opinion, about boycotting their movies and boycotting them. And the intelligence agency of Germany, to this day, keeps an eye on Scientology, although Clinton's involvement did kind of squelch some of that. But Germany's on their ass for reasons that are obvious. And John Travolta is none the wiser that what he's saying is falling on not only deaf ears, but it's kind of so out of touch that you can almost hear, I would imagine, certain audience members that aren't under the spell cringing on what he's saying.
Trade unions will not admit them. They will not be permitted to join social groups.
And I am shocked by this publication, as you have pointed out, that calls for the extermination, basically, of people who may have different views and beliefs, not just Scientologists. That is shocking. Who's been here before?
I just want to say something real quick. That's what Scientology always uses and is going to use if you ever try to really take them down under them not being, that's why they have to get their tax-exempt status removed. Because as long as they're a religion, they can always hide behind the fact of, look, we're a minority religion that's being persecuted. So where do you draw the line between banning somebody just because of their beliefs and, because that's what they're going to say, versus this is a criminal organization, human trafficking people and doing all sorts of other illegal activities under the guise of a religion. That's obviously why they need to get their tax-exempt status removed so they can be properly prosecuted. But this is a valid point that this guy makes. I'm a believer in free speech, and who decides who gets to ban who? You know what I mean? Only if it's criminal, I would say, do you need to take action. But, it is a fine line, and Germany taking such swift action to literally ban and boycott them, which can be really touchy territory because, like I said, who gets to decide that?
Me, that I was not, in terms of the manner in which oppression. A number of questions we'd like to get from you personal.
An unfettered iron fist looms over religious minorities in Germany, and they never know when or where it will strike next. This commission can make a dramatic difference by demanding that Germany immediately stop the harassment of religious minorities and meet its international human rights obligations.
In this committee, not to be confrontational. You haven't heard this senator make broad-based accusations against anyone, but to express, whether it be Germany or others, our concern as it relates to these issues that have been raised.
I just want folks to know that
I have to say something here. That's Arnie Lerma, R.I.P., fucking love this guy, man. He was one of the very few guys in the ex-Scientology community that would go down many rabbit holes and apply what he learned in Scientology to the wider scene, the global scene. This is where you get called a conspiracy nutter. But he was a brilliant man, dude, and he did a lot of deep diving into Scientology. And that question that we asked earlier, who gets to decide, who gets to censor who, and this and that, you know, this fine line that we're talking about, I think he kind of had a really good way of summing it all up here at the end. So let me roll it back and play him.
But to express, whether it be Germany or others, our concern as it relates to these issues that have been raised.
I just want folks to know that the organization that, in my opinion, is guilty of the worst persecution since the Spanish Inquisition is cloaking itself in religiosity to escape government scrutiny.
Exactly. Okay, and we finished with the video. And yeah, this is old footage, but like I said, the outcome of that Germany was they took a little bit of heat off of them with the Clinton and, you know, all the celebrities showing up and such. But Germany has taken, I would say, some of the most swift action. They have them labeled as a sect. That means a cult. And like I said, their intelligence agency keeps tabs on them. And if you can get banned from having a job if you're a Scientologist. You have to put down on job applications and such if you're a Scientologist. What do you guys think about that, by the way? Because are they being discriminated against with that level of action, or is Germany doing something that you would personally agree with? Like I said, it's a really fine line, because I guess it would be whether or not they're doing criminal activities. That's what I would think. That's when you draw the line. But why not just prosecute them for being a business masquerading as a religion? Or why doesn't Germany perhaps, obviously it's easier said than done, but just prosecute them on the fucking criminal activities, the freaking murders that they've done, man, all the cover-ups, all the human trafficking. There's plenty of things you can get them on. So you don't have to have this fucking debate. It's like, if you're doing things that are illegal, they should put a stop to it. Maybe rather than, these are just my own opinions, maybe rather than banning them or looking down on poor unsuspecting Scientologists that think they're practicing something great. This is why I think we need to deprogram, man. That's where it really lies, because even if you take away Scientology's tax exempt status, if I was in the fucking cult, I would have stayed with Scientology or formed another version elsewhere until somebody told me the truth about Hubbard, told me about mind control and how my mind had been hijacked. Short of that, it almost seems like an endless debating problem, or at the very least, prosecute them and end Scientology just based on the incredible amount of crimes that they committed since the beginning of 1950. This might be a good time to... Okay, so we're almost done. I'm just gonna show you a few things on this ridiculous art chorus, which is Hubbard pontificating about, you know, his ideas on art, and this stupid chorus that I did at Celebrity Center. And this is kind of what I was practicing in my acting class before I, you know, thank God, ran into Martin Landau and actually learned what it was kind of about. But we'll take a little break. Using one of the famous lines that I and other Scientologists would kind of like inculcate into our minds to keep the affinity up and to remember what art and life and everything is all about. And we're going to play you a song with Dougie Fresh, where he's actually going to bust out. You know how every church has their own church music, or they always, you know, the celebrities will make songs and about their particular religion, and just how corny they are. Well, Dougie Fresh is no exception. And there's a kind of a famous policy that we read over and over called The Joy of Creating. Whenever we would get sad, we would just read this. And it goes like this: force yourself to smile and you'll soon stop frowning. Force yourself to laugh and you'll soon find something to laugh about. Wax enthusiastic and you'll very soon feel so. A being causes his own feelings. Remember, you're always at cause, never a victim. You don't have to be sad. There's no benefit in a dark night of the soul or going through real trauma. Just skip all that and always remain happy. A being causes his own feelings. The greatest joy there is in life is creating. Splurge on it, not to be confused with splooge on it. And that's L. Ron Hubbard. And then the jackass that made this must be a Scientologist, because he defined the words, what wax and enthusiastic mean. I'm sure you know what those means. And also gave us some steps which we can apply. And this is a typical Scientology kind of auditing process. This is how it goes. These are the kind of drills that we do that are repeated over and over with very little variation in terms of what you're about to hear. 4 steps to make yourself happier. So you guys want to know how to make yourself happier, Scientology way? 1, it's simple. Just force yourself to smile and you'll soon stop frowning. So try this as an exercise. You guys want to do this at home? A, smile. B, don't smile. Now smile again. Don't smile. Smile. Don't smile. I know this sounds lame and it doesn't make any sense at all, but this is how it goes. Kind of paradoxical questions that you run back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, which put you into a trance state until you have some kind of cognition or realization, which often happens by doing these pedantic, ridiculous type of drills. And then you just repeat the above until you are cheerful. I'd be curious if anybody actually tries this at home. What do you think? Did you actually get happier by doing that drill? This is the kind of shit my dad would have me do. And I swear to God, it just made me more resentful and pissed off. And I would be like, why are you making me do this, Father? Do this exercise whenever you're frowning, upset, depressed, angry, apathetic, or resentful. Try the exercise in front of a mirror for an extra boost. So here's step 2. Force yourself to laugh and you'll soon find something to laugh about. Now that's logical enough, right? This exercise is useful when you're feeling stressed out or too serious. A, force a laugh. If this is difficult for you to do, say ha 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 ha. Then say ho 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 ho. Then say hee 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 hee. Repeat the above until you find something to laugh about. Oh my God, this is so much corn. 3, wax enthusiastic, and you'll very soon feel so. So when you feel enthusiasm, when you find, I think they misspelled it. When you feel enthusiasm for a difficult task, you make better decisions, get more done in less time, and produce a better result. Gee, thank you, Captain Obvious. A, now here's how you do it. A, write down a task you're avoiding or hate to do. Ask yourself, what about this task is interesting? Write down the answer. And again, we're back to John Travolta's gibberish that he was spewing earlier about just find the most uninteresting person and find something interesting about him and raise the ARC triangle with that person. C, ask yourself, what could I be a little excited about regarding this task? Write down your answer. Ask yourself, what could I be enthusiastic about regarding this task? Write down your answer. I don't know why that repeated that twice. One's excited and one's enthusiastic. And again, like everything in Scientology, repetition, repetition, repetition until you have a cognition. So you repeat steps B, C, and D until you feel enthusiastic. And then number 4, one more. The greatest joy there is in life is creating. What are your greatest joys in life? Being a parent, starting a company, being a Scientologist, finding new customers, forming new relationships. Notice how each activity creates something. Thank you again, Captain Obvious. And then you write down 3 things you can create today. Do them. Notice if your day is more joyful. The happiest individuals, families, and groups are those that create things. The most exciting goals you can have involve creating something. In fact, all of your success is your creation. Splurge on it, or rather, splooge on it. Now, to drive home that point, let's take an intermission while I'll dig through the comments and see if you guys have any questions before we kind of start to end out of here. And we'll have Dougie Fresh do this incredible church song that will hopefully get us all high on the tone scale.
Hey, could somebody tell me where the party at? Put 'em up, put 'em up, put 'em up. Put your hands up, put 'em up. I see a bass line. Come on. Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh. Much love and much respect. And this is the joy creating. Come on. Now let me tell you something. Watch this. You know what? Force yourself to smile and you'll soon stop frowning. Force yourself to laugh and you'll soon find something to laugh about. Ain't that right? You see? Wax enthusiastic, and you'll very soon feel so. A being causes his own feelings. It's the joy of creating, y'all.
Fuck, I'm sorry, I was muted. Thanks for pointing it out. Jesus Christ, I got to stop doing that. All I was saying is that what are you guys talking about that you don't like it in the audience? You're not. This is Dougie Fresh, man. What I said is I had two nicknames when I was growing up. One of them was Dougie Fresh. People would always call me that. I didn't know who the hell Dougie Fresh was, and I certainly didn't know he was a Scientologist when I was growing up. And the other nickname that I had instead of Douglas was I was teased by being called Dickless.
It's the joy of creating, y'all. Come on, put 'em up. Yeah. The greatest joy there is in life is creating. Splurge on it. Come on. Ain't that right? It's the joy of creating, y'all. Ain't that right? Watch this. Jump around if you know you love creating. Jump around if you know you love creating. Jump around if you put up your hand if you know that the down. Say joy. Say joy. Yo, there's a positive force and a negative force, and a spiritual being has the freedom of choice. I can make music by using my voice, turn a frown to a smile, make people rejoice. From a real good feeling that's hard to fake. The greatest gift in life is to love create. So don't hesitate, just communicate and get in the game and participate. Splurge on it. Splurge on it. Come on. It's the joy of creating, y'all.
All right, we're not going to make you suffer through that all night. There's just a couple more things I wanted to show you. If you guys have any questions before we roll out of here, let me know. But there's a course that Scientologists offer, which is called the Art Course. And I'm not going to, let's see the only people that you guys want to do something funny, go leave a review on this book and downvote it or whatever. And by the way, it's only $125 for a hardcover copy of this beautiful gem. It says art. In this book, L. Ron Hubbard answers the question that has puzzled people for centuries. What is art? He not only provides the first clear definition of art, of course, L. Ron Hubbard was the first to do everything like every cult leader and guru says they are, but also discusses the components necessary to create a truly artistic communication. This is knowledge that any artist, any viewer of art, or anyone who intends to communicate successfully will recognize as infinitely valuable. Infinitely valuable. So I'm not going to bother to read this frickin' shit to you. I'll just read a couple lines. I don't want to bore the crap out of you. But I'll leave in the description box if you want a free copy of the art book and all the policies that go with it. You can see a table of contents here. By the way, this is written by a sociopath, so it's like a computer robotic way of doing acting. That's why everything's so pedantic, so precise, and there's no life in any of these policies or anything. Art more about. He talks about stage manners, rhythm, art and communication, art in its basics, fine art, blah, 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 blah. And here's a few lines of the first ridiculous policy. But again, I remember being electrified by this because minus knowing, I thought Hubbard was a genius. And, you know, he tells you his bio about how he's done this, that, and the other thing, how he's flown to the Van Allen belt and he knows the whole track history of humanity and all this shit via the e-meter. So I had no reason to believe that he didn't know what he was talking about with art. Plus, he was a writer. So art, for some 15 years, I have been studying, among other branches of philosophy, the subject of art. The reason for this is art is the least codified of human endeavors and the most misunderstood. What is art is one of the least answered of human questions. Art abounds with authorities. It was chosen because, quote, that field containing the blah. I don't even want to read this garbage. I mean, it's just so retarded. But anyways, you can just see he goes on and on about this shit. What I do want to do to finish off the art book is to read a review of it by a very apt pupil of the subject. What is art? This is a question that has been asked, agonized over, and philosophized on for centuries. It is a question that has been determined over and over again to have no answer. Is art pure aesthetics? Where does that leave some of the most prominent and brilliant dadaists? Is the pencil box with some scratchy lines radiating from a corner art? Some say not, but others see it as the desperate attempt for the daddiest to understand. I don't know what that word is. Adapt and cope with the Industrial Revolution and what it did. In his book, Art, L. Ron Hubbard tells us the first chapter that indeed he has an answer to this question of questions. He relays this answer promptly and repetitively. Art is communication. Hubbard tells us that this one thing in numerous ways, numerous times. Art is unsuccessful when it does not communicate its message clearly to the largest number of people. i.e. propaganda. Art that only communicates with other artists or with the artist himself is not art. This is curious and fascinating concept to be telling supposedly creative people. Many of the world's greatest artists did not create their master works in order to talk to the masses. Van Gogh was painting his colorful, fractured landscapes as a reflection of his own tortured soul. If L. Ron Hubbard had been alive then, he would have called one of the most brilliant artists Europe has produced a fraud. After all, no one looked at Van Gogh's paintings. No one bought a single one besides his own brother. The man was broke and insane when he died. A failure indeed, but his work is some of the most expressive, the most beautiful the world has seen. Sadly, Hubbard would not consider Van Gogh an artist under his definition of art. Technical expertise is another interesting focal point for Hubbard's book. He cites an example which any artist with an ounce of sense would roll their eyes at for the obviousness of it. He tells us of a French painter friend who told him once that, quote, to do any of these modern abstract cubist things, you have to first be able to paint. Hubbard doles out this information as if it is some great secret that artists hoard amongst themselves. Picasso, one of the greatest artists of all time, had the basics of painting and drawing down pat by the time he was 12. His ever-evolving search for expression took him to the end of his life, by which time he was painting the cubist masterpieces he's known for. Of course, one must know how to paint if one is to be a painter. Hubbard has a different goal in mind, however, when he states this. He tells artists that they can deliver a successful message only if their technical skill is perfect. Communication breaks down when you cannot effectively depict your point. Again, common sense, but not necessarily applicable to art. Let's see. I think we only have this one more paragraph. Let's just get to the end here. There are no rules in art, and Hubbard sets rules on the first page. You cannot define, confide, or codify art. That's its very nature. Take that away, and what you have is advertising. That is something that Hubbard was good at. The only art form that can be said to, by definition, have to communicate. His book, Art, loses any credibility when he sets its underlying theme down. From there on, all it does is to serve to show what a monstrous ego he has. That Hubbard is not an artist is abundantly clear. That he is a poor writer of the lowest quality is also abundantly clear. That is the only certainty in this book, beyond the fact that it is nothing but a collection of badly written phrases attempting to tell artists something they know is nonsense. The only gratifying thing about art is the fact that any artist reading it would immediately see it for what it is, something to prop up as an uneven leg on a coffee table. So there you have it, my friends. We took you through all of the gibberish and Scientology crap that John Travolta and Tom Cruise spewed at the actor studio. You can see where some of the concepts come from the art book and such, which I'll leave in the description box because I'm sure you can't wait to read it. And again, if you have any questions before we roll out of here, now is the time to ask them. And I have some pinned comments from earlier. Caveman, what's up? Laugh out loud. So in order to not control someone, they better get their ass up and walk around the block. Okay, that's the block question earlier. In the opposite direction. They can hike to the right cause. I'm sticking to the left. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, right? The wife, we were talking earlier about extroverting and introverting and how the wife goes one way and the husband goes another way. And supposedly they come back all happy and shit. Lutzfisk Lamad. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. They really harp the language in a subversive way. Is that what it is? They really are. Yeah, Scientology is, of course, all about using subversive language, NLP, and endless mind control techniques. Tom's vibe feels predatory to me. Yeah, I think Tom's definitely what you call a sociopath or a predatory person. It is, in a real sense, feels hunter-stalkery. Way too intense. Dude has an agenda. And his girlfriends apparently would say that. His ex-girlfriends, as he was growing up, said that he had that same intensity in his teenage years. So yeah, I would say he was rather, who knows how it was formed. H.G. Tudor, the psychopath we interview, say it's a combination of genetic predisposition and either a lack of a controlled environment or being the golden child, having too much praise. If you listen to John Travolta's background, his parents, so particularly his mom, his stage mother, she was also an actress. She would give him so much praise and boost him up so much that he felt he always had so much confidence that he couldn't fail. And perhaps that prevents him from looking at the more negative aspects of his life. Or when anybody challenges him on Scientology or invalidates him in any way, he has the power of the positive thinking tech to be able to push that away, probably not least because of the pampered kind of upbringing that he had with his mother. Gurroar. Doug, where are all these auditors who are the celebrities? They can still be in Scientology. Why aren't they spilling the beans? None of that stuff was legal and binding. They signed, right? I'm not quite sure I understand that, Gurur. Let's see. Where are all the auditors who are the celebrities? Well, if you are an auditor for the organization and you sign a staff contract, they're not going to be celebrities. So the people that you go see to do paid services as a public member, they're not going to be celebrities. And the only celebrities that would be auditors, because you can train as one, but you would still be a public member. Obviously, you have to remain a public member in order to, be a celebrity out in the real world. And they wouldn't necessarily have a whole lot to spill because they're not spending their days like a staff member or a CR member auditing people every day. It's just a skill that they would be using to make themselves more competent in life. That's what Scientology would say. Lady BB. Okay, that's to, sorry, I don't know why I started that one, my friend. That was to somebody else. Gurur again, sorry, I meant, oh, okay. I meant, where are all the auditors? Who, the celebrities? Why aren't they talking? Gurur, can you leave that in the comments after the video is published at some point? Because I don't quite understand that, but I'll answer it. In the comments if you want to leave it there. Any questions you guys have in the comments, just let me know. I'll leave them there. Okay, so it looks like we don't have any more questions. And thanks again, my friends. Thanks for getting me through this night. Because like I said, I've been up for like a day and a half straight, and just thank God we got through this freaking thing. Because I'm tired as all hell. But anyways, until the next one, we shall see you soon, my friends, and have a good night or good morning, wherever you may be at. And as always, stay safe, stay sane, and most definitely fucking stay cult free.
Physical labor, and intense ideological study are used to break the subject's will. So is that the truth?